We're going to basically build out the AdTactix dashboard with some really strong keywords. And then we're going to set up our bulk sheets in order to optimize our bids. And then the other main component, I'll show you how to start building out some campaigns in bulk. Those are really the three core things we're going to be doing here. I'm not going to go over the authorization. All that stuff's pretty straightforward. You should be able to get to this menu. And then from there, you've really got 4 steps that you need to be concerned with. The first one, it's just going to take you to Amazon in order to download your bulk file. There is some SOPs built out. So if you just click on and hover over these, you can see kind of the main header there. You essentially just click on that. You'll get a sidebar right here that shows up. And then you can click on this video training button. And then you'll get a pop out here that you can see a lot better. And I'll have videos in line with this here soon. But this is going to walk you through here how to essentially import all the data related to AdTactix from your bulk file to, you've got a lot of supplemental reports. We'll be adding some more options here soon with respect to like your search term summary reports, brand analytics, search query performance. You're basically downloading the data manually, but these links take you directly to the page where you need to download it. So it's pretty fast once you get the hang of it. There is some pretty important naming conventions that you have to be aware of. You can see right here, I'm downloading it and then saving it to this correct folder. So as long as you do these steps and then you name them according to you see there, you'll be fine. There it shows you how to do the brand analytics. You've got a CSV version there. This shows you how to import Helium 10 historical rank data if you want to track that on the AdTactix dashboard. And then finally, you've got how to import the data. So I'm just going to real quickly show you how to do that. I've already got the files that you see up in here. I've already got these saved to my AdTactix data new folder, so I'm not going to worry about doing any of that. All right, so the search query performance, I will say for right now until Amazon fixes their or integrates a download link for that report, there's a Chrome extension here you can download, and then it's just a really easy copy and paste. So I'll show you that as well here real quick. But that's how we're doing that. And then finally, once you've imported all the data, it's just a sync button that you click and it kind of sets everything up for you. So I'm going to do right now. What's nice too about these SOPs off to the side is you can actually leave them open while you're working and you kind of scroll down as you go. So we'll have here shortly some more strategic based SOPs that walk you through things like optimizing your bids to, finding the right keywords and creating those. So we'll try to spell everything out for you all step by step. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so right now, the main thing you want to know about is down here in the bottom left, which is the supplemental reports hub. The ones I have checked right now are the ones I'm going to import. I've already got some old rank data in there, so I'm not going to worry about that. But as far as the menu here, you would click this step 2 button and it would take you to Seller Central. You do want to make sure you're already logged in to Seller Central before you run this, or else it's going to take you to the login page and then you'll have to come back and redo it. If you click on that and for some reason the page doesn't show up, make sure you look up here in the URL bar. There'll be like a little eyeglass button. I think it looks similar to this, but it's not quite that icon there. And it's to disable pop-ups. So you have to make sure you don't have pop-ups set for those scripts to work. Download the reports, save them to your Google Drive folder, and you can see instructions here on where to save it down right here. And then here's your file code as well. For the rank files, KW_ASIN means you actually plug in the ASIN where it says ASIN. All right, so what I'm going to do now, you can see I don't really have any data in here. I've just got the generic tabs that come with when you first set it up. So I'm going to come in here and hit import supplemental reports. I'm going to hit auto import supplemental data. Yes. All right, so there it just brought in our sponsored products search term summary, and just brought in our search term summary for our sponsored brands. And if you got a finished script up here, that little green icon, I'll be adding some prompts here soon, but now I can go back and you can see there's a notification there that everything was imported successfully. If for some reason the prompt here has an error, then it'll tell you, usually you've either named the file wrong, or you've saved it in the wrong place, or you've downloaded the wrong format. There's a few places like the brand analytics report you can download as a CSV or an Excel file. If there's ever an option to download a CSV, it's always going to be that, but it talks about which file format in the SOP, so you can just remove that. All right, so we've got kind of our supplemental data in here now. All we have left is our bulk sheet. So that's where we would have clicked here. We would have already been logged into Seller Central, so it would have taken us to the bulk ops manager, and we would have just downloaded our report. And you can save this one really to anywhere. I typically will save it either in my FBA Excel export files folder, which just gets created automatically when you authorize the tool. But I think I have a test file here, so I'm going to just grab that one. All right, so you'll just double click, and for this you actually hit insert new sheet, import data. All right, and then you just want to make sure it says save to drive up here. That means kind of everything's ready to go. You'll be able to click around and do different things. The big change between Apex and this tool is Apex used to have to run through like some initialization and optimization scripts in order to get the new bulk sheets in a good format to work with. Here we've kind of redone everything and started from scratch, so it's a lot more efficient, but you can really just go up now and hit sync all data, and it's going to take our bulk file now along with any of the supplemental data that we've already imported and kind of combine everything and create a few extra columns in some of the sheets. That's just going to help us do some things using the bulk operations and quick filters and such. So that's what we're waiting on right now. You can see it pulled in all our SKU and ASIN information. In Apex, you had to like onboard and do a bunch of stuff with importing your inventory files and stuff to get some of this info, but we're able to get all this now automatically, which is nicer. All right, then you'll get a sync complete. Right, so at this stage, you'll actually be able to buzz through each sheet and just see how it's prepped. So the portfolio tab actually doesn't change. This one here, we just keep for reference if you ever need to know like the IDs or the portfolio names, just kind of handy. But these three are modified. So you've got an override column here in column A. This will be important when we start setting up our target level overrides on the bid override table. We've got all of the really generic kind of information that's in your bulk file. This is, for those, I don't know, Jalou, if you are real familiar with bulk sheets, but it's basically all your campaigns all in one place. So you've got products, brands, and display for the different ad types. The new columns that we've added, we've got an ASIN column where if you see it, the ASIN will show up in every row that's associated with each campaign. So if we didn't have this, you would just have the ASIN on, in this campaign, 2 of the rows involved in the campaign. So here's your entire campaign, but the ASIN only shows up in two rows, where here it's going to show you in all the rows. So what you can do here is really quickly, if you want to say, for example, filter and see all the campaigns associated with this ASIN, you can do that. So it's pretty handy, and we use it for some of the lookups that you wouldn't be able to do without that. And you've got your metric columns here that come in with the bulk file. We added this one here. This actually tells you how many active targets are in each campaign. So if you really quickly, for example, want to see all your single keyword campaigns that are active, you can filter by the number 1, and it'll show you that. These columns also allow us to do a lot of just real quick filters through the bulk sheet in order to navigate. I won't cover all these. I'll bounce around and show you a few of them in this video, but just know that once you've kind of synced all your data, you're free to use all of these, and they will activate based on whichever sheet you're in. So this sponsored brands, it's got some different information, but the whole premise is the same, that you can use the quick filters here. You're going to use the same 3-step sequence to optimize your bids. We've actually added a way to optimize everything at once in this tool as well, so that's pretty handy. But it's sponsored display, same deal. It's going to be laid out very similar. Does that make sense, Eddie and Jalou? Do you have any questions there before I keep going?
All clear.
I'm good.
Sounds good. All right. So what I'm going to do next actually is hop over to the AdTactix dashboard. So this is actually a brand new tab that was not in Apex. And I want to show you how to add a series. We'll probably do, I don't know, 6 to 1,000 keywords here in just a few minutes. We'll populate this dashboard, and then I'll show you how powerful it can be as far as tracking the data on an ongoing basis and figuring out a strategy to kind of target in your PPC campaigns based on what you're already targeting. So that's kind of the goal. All right, so there's multiple ways you can kind of populate this dashboard. The first one, and probably the most powerful in my opinion, well, there's two that I really like, but using KD Boosted and getting an export file out of KD Boosted based on all your competitor data is a pretty powerful way. So if you go back to Keyword Dominator in the members area now, there will be a new version that has this report here. So you just basically select AdTactix, and then you hit this black button here, and it's going to export whatever you have checked essentially. So it's just going to look at this checkbox and say, okay, he wants to export that. And it's going to send that report to your FBA Excel export files folder, which is right here. That gets created automatically when you authorize again. So I know that that's there. I'm not going to really walk through that. It's pretty self-explanatory, but you're basically using competitor data and really high relevancy keywords that you determine to build out that report. And from there, we can come up and import it. So I'm just going to go to a folder here, and there, you noticed I clicked on cell H41. If we already had keywords in here, you would just go to the bottom and click on that cell, because I'm going to use this replace data at selected cell and hit import data. Just like I'm doing this, you could very easily build out your own kind of custom report where you have a list type that you name it whatever you want. The date will not import unless you populate that kind of template that I'm suggesting you would maybe want to build. And then the third column would be your ASIN. So you can kind of just see how it's laid out. You would treat it the same way, and you can build out your own custom template. But you see this report actually brings in some of our keyword dominator metrics. It brought in our keyword here. It would have brought in our priority if we had it specified in the dummy sheet, but I didn't have it in there. All right, so anytime you import data and you want to actually update it per the AdTactix dashboard, you do want to make sure you've already synced your advertising sheets here, which we already did. We did that in step 4. And the reason there is it's just going to use some information from those reports in order to tell us, for example, if we're already targeting certain keywords in different campaigns. So in order to update it, though, you're just going to hit this blue refresh button. And I'll cross my fingers this works, because this is what I've been working on for the last hour. All right. You can see it's starting to populate some things. So depending on which data you have in the background and which keywords you've already populated, for example, in your this data here is coming in from our Helium-10 historical rank report. You can see it looks like I'm only tracking one of the keywords that I've added, but so I just got a finished script up there. That means it's done. So what I can do is scroll over here to the right, and you can see here, so this is going to be search query performance report data. We've got bypassed our sponsored brands and search term impression share. The next section is going to be the search term report section. I'll show you that here in a second. We've got 2 of these keywords it looks like we're already targeting, because I'm getting some ad metrics to show up. And if I scroll over a little more, it actually tells you how many of each match type is active. So SKW-E means single keyword exact, and so on and so forth. And then these checkboxes, I'll show that here in a few, but that's for using the AdTactix dashboard to build out bulk campaigns kind of inline. So it's a really efficient feature that we've not quite done with it, but it's definitely functional. So I'll demonstrate that here. And then you've got sponsored brands. So it doesn't look like I'm targeting any of these in sponsored brands. Same deal. We're working on the bulk builder for sponsored brands and display right now, not quite finished. And you've got a sponsored display. And then finally, you've got a total section that you can't see because I got all these things here, but this just totals up across all of the ad types. So you have that. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. So what I'm going to do now, though, is I like the keyword dominator data, but I also
Hey,
like
Brett,
yep.
when you do like on the if you go over to the sponsored products, the up top part, kind of the summary
Mhm.
that you can populate the data up there and you can do the drop down for the ASIN.
Mhm.
Does that carry over to sponsored brand and sponsored display?
I'm working on it. That's it's going to be, so what he's referring to is the PPC audit. So it's this button right here. If I click this, it's going to essentially take my sponsored products file and do some really advanced slices in order to tell you placements per match type per ASIN, which you can't natively do with a lot of the tools. So it's a bit tricky. And I've got some color coding there too that I'm going to add. But yeah, now you can basically see at the ASIN level, if I pick one of these, you'll see the metrics change. It's giving us single keyword exact and then exact through ASIN targeting the total metrics. And then you've got your placement metrics here broken out by match type along with your product pages. So this section here is kind of how it will look in all the sections. So you just be able to quickly identify what's working. And it becomes really powerful when you start using this bulk campaign builder, because you can, use this table to say, okay, what am I not targeting in, let's say, a single keyword exact campaign that I want to. You can just real quickly deselect all the values. So you're just showing the blanks. And then you can look up here and see, oh, I'm doing real well on top of search for this. So when I create the campaign, I may want to, increase a bid modifier or something like that. So you can really just get real quick insights into what's working well. And yeah, we're going to have that for sponsored brands, and it's going to be split out kind of like you see here. So you'll have the headline search, you'll have, this is kind of your total. So headline search plus video, and then you've got it split out and segmented out a little further. So hopefully that makes sense. And then sponsored display as well. We'll have at least the ASIN targeting. I don't quite know on the category stuff how that is going to pan out, but that makes
Yeah, I was
sense.
just wondering, like when you select one ASIN, is it going to go across to all three?
I'll probably make it by default linked, but then you can override it with the drop down, because I can think of
Okay.
reasons why you'd want to have it independent. So good question. All right, so let's populate this with a lot more keywords though, because there's a lot more damage we can do. So one thing I didn't cover that is covered in the SOP right here is the search query performance report, and that's Amazon native data, which is really powerful. All right, so that's going to be this section right here. And what I've got is, if you come here, paste search query performance data. So you'll click on this. And it's going to take you here. This is the test data I have in here. If you want to use this section on your account, you will have to just highlight all the rows and hit the delete key, and that'll clear out all the data. But the SOP covers how to copy and paste the data from Amazon into this sheet. And then when you're done, you just hit the save button. Then it updates some stuff in the background real quick. All right, so that's where that data is stored, but you basically will download this likely on a weekly basis. You don't necessarily have to, but I think it would be smart on a weekly basis, because you'll get new keywords that Amazon's telling you you're doing well for, and I think that's really crucial data to keep track of. But once we have that, you can work this into kind of your SOP where you're going to come back to the tactics dashboard, and it's just one button you'll click where you'll come up here and let me click the right one, search query keywords. And then this is going to look at all of that search query data, and then it's going to look at what we've already got on that AdTactix dashboard, and you can see it just appended it and put SQR, that's what stands for search query report. And now you can see it's updating everything the similar fashion that we did the keyword dominator stuff. And if you have a lot of weeks that you go back and import, this can be a crap ton of keywords that can populate. I think with this example, I probably got over 500 that's going to dump in here, and it's going to at the same time reconcile against our ad reports to tell us what we're targeting and what we're not targeting. So it's pretty powerful stuff. And then from there, we can start to use some of the filters to dial in a game plan on what we want to target. And I could even see you could build out a schedule over here in the notes field and put dates would be a slick way to do it, and say, hey, I'm going to launch these campaigns on these dates, these campaigns on these dates. And then you could just come in here, click a few buttons, use the bulk campaign builder, and off you go. So pretty slick. So that's my second favorite, I'll say, next to keyword dominator. All right. And then the last one we'll cover here is the search term report harvesting. So for that, you've got a section right here. I can make this chat smaller. So here you can come up with some default criteria that you want to always kind of mine the data for in your search term reports. And right now I've got both of them checked, and you can see I've got the data down here in the tabs that came in automatically. There's also a search term impression rank minimum you could set as an optional field, just so you're aware there. But in order to mine these, all you'll do is come up to AdTactix tools and hit search terms, filter search term reports. You could do this step manually, but this is just kind of a handy little input window to set multiple filter criteria. And you're going to get a prompt here that's just going to kind of read back what you've selected. Single, multi, that means single versus multi keyword or not keyword campaigns, but ASIN campaigns. So if you have multiple SKUs or ASINs or whatever in a campaign, you don't necessarily know if you get a conversion, if it went to SKU A or SKU B. That's why singles SKU or ASIN campaigns are the ideal scenario. But now if we go over here, you'll see that this data is going to be filtered based on our criteria, and you can filter this down further. So like if I click on this and I want to see seven or more orders, click on that, it'll filter it further. And what we'll do now is go down through and we can expand this and actually read the search term to make sure everything's hyper relevant. This is all dummy data, so it's kind of pointless, but over here you can see some of the new fields that got added. So status means that the campaign that the search term got fired in is either active or inactive. You've got the ASIN associated with it. You've got if it's single or multi, which was selected from our presets. STI rank, that gets pulled in from our search or sponsored product search term impression share rank. But let's pretend I just want to bring in all of these. And this would be an operation you could just do throughout the month. You could do this every week or something, let's say. All right, then I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to push these now to AdTactix, and then it's going to update all of the corresponding columns again. So it just kind of does it in line. We're working on improving the performance of this script too. It's a pretty tricky script, but we've got some ideas to make it even faster. Is this making sense for the most part?
Yep.
And is there any way you could build a template for if you wanted to add ASIN targets? Like if you're using Market Basket or
you'll have ASINs come in from your search term report here, which I'm pretty sure we'll see some. But you can, like I said, you can build your own template. It just needs to match up with these first few columns, right? And then here's column X needs to be where your ASIN gets put. So yeah, I'll probably end up doing that just for everybody to have, but yeah, you could definitely do that. All right. So once it's done, one really smart thing to do, in my opinion, when you're first getting started, is look at the search query rank, and then we'll do by condition, and then let's do anything less than or equal to, say, 4. Right now, so this is basically Amazon telling us, hey, your product is, they basically rank your product from 1 to whatever, 25, let's say, with 1 being kind of your top producer, right? And what you can do is we can scroll over now and look and say, okay, am I targeting these right now? Some of these we can see we're not even targeting them in anything, right? So let's pretend we want to build some single keyword exact campaigns, and let's pick one of these ASINs. Let's pick the NCF one. All right. So what we can do now that we've built out this massive keyword set is build out some campaigns really quick. So the way this works is you just select the check boxes next to the match type that you want to create, and you can build multiple at one time. So let's say you want to build all these are single keywords. So to build single keyword, you basically need a unique identifier in all of these rows. And then if we want to build some broads for these, you can do this. So let's put all the broads in one. I'm doing that. And then let's build a phrase for this one and a phrase for that one. And let's put them in the same thing for the front of it. And that one's got one. The one here. It's got its own. All right. And then we'll come up here, create PPC campaigns. This is going to hop you over to a campaign builder. So you hit 1 for new campaigns. You can see it's basically plugging everything in for us off of the AdTactix dashboard. You can see our multiple keyword campaigns are right there. You've got the match type gets pulled in, your SKU gets pulled in. We've got a renamer. So if you come back here to the settings tab, this section right here, you can pretty well dictate your own nomenclature. We're going to have some really advanced stuff down here in this section here shortly that will allow you to really create your own custom name. But this allows a lot of flexibility for like the order of different elements. You can change basically anything that is gray. And then the single keyword mode and add date mode, that adds essentially what it says. It's going to add the keyword to our campaign name and ad group name in this case. So I'll illustrate that here really quickly. Hop over here and you'll just come up here. So we've moved from the AdTactix dashboard to the create campaigns section here, and I'm in the build new campaigns menu. This menu down here is still kind of in the works, but you can add keywords to existing campaigns as well. But the custom name tool, you just come up here, hit update custom names, and hit yes, and you'll see it's going to swap out some of the elements for like the SKU and the different custom elements we had in there. And then the red meant that before it was duplicated campaign names, but since it just turned to white, now that means that they're all unique. And you've pretty much just got kind of summary data down here. You can add negatives in line with kind of what we're doing right here if you want, and you would just add multiple negative keywords in a similar fashion that we added these multiple keywords in the targeting section. You would just add those. You actually hit Control Enter to put a line carriage in a cell. So that's how you do that. And then if we scroll over to the right, you'll see that these multiple keywords kind of butchered up our campaign names because it put all the keywords in the name. So that's why our bulk file is going to look weird when we create it here. But create campaign upload file once you've gotten to this stage, and this is just going to build out a file that we can upload to Amazon, and then our campaigns will be created. So the reason these again look weird is because we added multiple keywords to the end of our campaigns. But anyway, that's that. Pretty straightforward. At this stage, what you might want to do is edit your bid if you want to do target level bids and have different values for that. Otherwise, it's going to default back to the ad group bid as far as the setting. Cool. Eddie, I know you had, or if you're still here, I know you had some questions on that, or you wanted to see some stuff there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, just a quick question in terms of any limits on the number of rows that we could up to import in order not to affect performance.
No, I think it's a lot more efficient than the flex tool that we have out right now, and I've built out 200 at a time. So I would recommend doing one ASIN at a time just to stay organized. I've tried to get really crazy with it, and you almost lose track of what you're doing if you're not careful. So, but no, it works really slick. I mean, you can do a ton of campaigns at once if you want.
Thank you. Cool.
Sure. All right. And then going back to that, I mean, it's also a manual bulk campaign builder. So we don't have to use the AdTactix dashboard. You can come up here and hit clear, and then it's just going to reset everything, hit yes. And you can come back and pick, if we want to make, say 5 exact, 5 broad, 5 phrase, you can just do this type of deal. You're going to have to input some more data. Like here, you're going to have to select the SKU and type in the keywords here. That's really all you need to input because we selected exact, but same process. Once you get those input, then you would just, swap out the name if you want. You can always type in your own name as well. It can be overwritten, but that's kind of a general overview of that feature. All right, so let me make sure I didn't skip anything here. We went over the audit briefly. That, yeah, those are the main. There's a few other little things, but that's what we're covering. So now let's hop over and talk about optimizing bids and just navigating your bulk sheets. All right, so I've got kind of a strategy that I like showing users that are relatively new, and it involves the Pareto principle, but you can really take any approach at this you want. I tend to focus on what's currently performing well in your account and try to scale those campaigns out while weekly adding new campaigns to test. That's always been my strategy. And then at the same time, really paying attention to your top performing keywords and trying to see why they're working. So this strategy I'll show you right now is kind of in that vein. All right, so here's the bid override table. If you're familiar with Apex, it had a SKU dashboard, which that's been removed. So now we've basically got a one-stop shop to manage our bids, and it allows you to do a lot of fancy things like interact and pull in data from the AdTactix dashboard. You can import auxiliary reports as well. I'll show you one here to pull in stuff like organic sales, tacos, stuff like that. All right, so in order to kind of run down through how I like to get it set up, you'll just start out by buzzing through each of these 3 sheets and clicking on enabled targets filter. And this is just going to show us all our enabled targets in each of the ad types, and it's going to sort it by orders. You could just as easily sort it by revenue, or you could sort it however you want, but this is how I just like to do it. And Pareto analysis is basically the 80-20 rule. So what you can do is just click on AS and move you guys out of the way. So it's about 1,800 orders. So let's pretend that's 10 or more orders. So what you'll do to do target level overrides on the bid override table is copy column A. So you're just going to hold in Shift, Control C to copy, click on the bid override table, click on the override column, and hit Control Shift V, paste the values. And I've got some formatting stuff I've got to fix, but that's that. And the way you set up your bid override table is you've got multiple different options of overrides. And the overrides are essentially going to override, in our case right now, just our account level bid settings. So when I talk about bid settings, I'm talking about over here. There's a formula associated with these specific inputs, and you can kind of hover over the headers to get an explanation. There'll also be a video in the AdTactix members area that explains kind of the main formula that most users use, but there's some others that you can test out. All right, so the bid precedence, though, is the main important thing to understand. So you've essentially got target level overrides, which I'm assigning right now just by selecting that, dragging down, and like that. All right. And what I'm going to do anytime I add anything to the bid override table is click this sync button. And what it's going to do is actually it resets our bulk sheets really quick, and then it's going to import some metrics. So we've got count level metrics here in line with target level metrics. So don't get confused. It's like different slices of your account depending on which type of override you apply. All right. So yellow means we haven't assigned bid input settings yet. And what you can do is just use these for generic getting started type settings. Control-Shift-V to paste the values. You can see the yellow went away. All right, and as soon as you do that, you can click this new bid preview button, and at the target level override, it's going to show you, if you go with these settings, what your new bid's going to be. And if you get a range, that means you've got modifiers applied. So that's what this is over here, 50% bid modifier. That's where you're getting the 117 to 175. So biggest mistake by far I see users that use Apex or the other FBA Excel tools make for the PPC is they set their bid criteria settings too conservative when they first get started, and then get mad because their sales dipped. And it's because their bids, they dropped their bids so fast right off the bat because they didn't just double check that it is at least in the ballpark of their current cost per click. So your cost per click's right here. This is what you're currently converting at those targets for. Make sure that, you know, this difference, $2 to 117, that's too much. So, yeah, you know, even 44% ACOS, I get it that you want to drop it, but don't drop it that fast. Just the formula over time is going to drop it. What that means is if I go back to sponsored products, optimize PPC, there's a show missing bids. If you set up your campaigns and only use the ad group from Campaign Manager to set your bids by, and you don't set target level bids, you'll get missing bids in your bulk sheet column, and you'll just have the bid in the ad group column. So if you have those, when you do that filter, all you need to do is go like that, and it'll transfer it over to the bid column. And then when you sync your bid override table the next time, that'll be populated. And it won't say missing bid, it'll say whatever you changed it to. But I'm going to go ahead and remove some of these just for simplicity's sake, and I'll show you the ASIN level overrides really quick. So this is a new addition here in the past week, and it basically allows you to simulate the SKU dashboard that we had in Apex, but this one's going to be at the ASIN level. So your ASINs, if you hop back to your settings tab, you've got a full list of them right here. So I'm just going to copy them, Control-C. I'm going to go back and paste them here, Control-Shift-V. Red means they're duplicates. So what you can do, since I still have them selected, is go to Data, Clean Up, Remove Duplicates, Okay, and I'm just going to drag this ASIN override down. All right, and what I'll do now is sync this, and it's going to, instead of at the target level, it'll pull in the ASIN level metrics. And it is important to note that these are only single ASIN campaigns. So if you have multiple ASINs that you've structured your campaigns by, it's not going to apply kind of these metrics to those campaigns. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so we've added those. We don't have bid input settings applied here yet, so I'm just going to, in similar fashion, drag down some dummy ones here. You can actually drag that down and just let it go as well. All right, so what we're doing now is we're not only bidding at the target level with some overrides, we're setting up each ASIN based on what you can do is use the economics of the product and know the break even of each product, and kind of set your bid input setting criteria according to that, which can be definitely helpful. Now, you're not going to be able to see the bid previews because they aren't target level metrics. The ASINs you're going to effectively use to segment your criteria across each ASIN. So it's going to use the target level metrics of all the keywords that you're targeting for these ASINs, but it's going to use the bid input settings that you're specifying here to actually calculate the bid. So there's variables in the formula that call for the target level metrics. So that's kind of how that works with the formula. It's a bit confusing to some, but all right. As far as the extra columns here, you've got for the target level, it's going to show you your campaign budgets. If you do a campaign level override, you'll see the same thing. You'll see your campaign budgets. Here you've got some additional details related to either the campaign or, here it's calling out all the match type information as well. Here it's just calling out the ASIN because that's the only applicable information for this override. You've got the target sniper tool. I'll go over that here in just a second. You've got some additional organic sales tacos. So in order to bring that information in, you do have to hop over to the labs tab and just click once right there, and you can go and I don't have a quick link to download this one yet. I'll probably add it, but you just download it from your business reports. It's the child ASIN business report, and you can just double click there, replace data at selected cell, and then it'll bring that information in. And now when you go back to your sheet here, and then we'll refresh it depending on if any of those match.
Is there any way to have the tags from the AdTactix dashboard show up on the bid override table if it matches the ASIN and the target?
Tags? What do you mean? Oh yeah, the tag column. Yeah, you can, yeah, that's what these blank fields are for. We'll have a way you can kind of customize things if you want to see different data. Everybody seems to want to see different things, but anyway, the idea there is you could bring in different information from this sheet here and kind of show that in line. So pretty powerful. All right, you've got search volume, organic rank, sponsored rank, and then the trends. If I don't have that mapped right now in the AdTactix, but then you've got your bid strategy, the placement modifiers. There is a way when you're working on managing your bids to kind of fine tune, and you'll edit them here, and you can edit them here and click these buttons to replace the values in your bulk file. This one's not quite ready either. It's kind of a work in progress. I'm still going to work on that, working that out. But as far as the placement metrics, you have all that data here as well. The ASIN level placement metrics are a little bit confusing because they're aggregated metrics, but it does give you a reference into which of your ASINs are performing best in top search and product pages. But that is a summation where here the target level is going to be of the the campaign that each of these targets is in. This is how it's performing. So if it's a single keyword campaign like these, you'll know that it's just for that keyword as opposed to ones that have more than one keyword. But if you had campaign level overrides, the placement metrics would be obviously on that campaign because that's where they're dictated. And then one important concept is the precedence. So the precedence of which bid settings are going to get used if you have multiple overrides that are complementary is you'll have target level metric bid settings take precedence, the upper level precedence. Then you got campaign, portfolio, then ASIN, and then it falls back to the account level row, which if you're really lazy, you can literally use this one row and specify bid settings here to manage all the targets and all the ad types of your account. Wouldn't recommend it, but you could. The other thing I see a lot of users use is portfolio names, and you can set an override there and then put the portfolio name, which you could have the same portfolio across products, brands, display, and kind of categorize things however you want by product, by feature. I've seen all sorts of things, but just plug your portfolio name in there. You can see the allowable inputs here. I need to add ASIN, but Those are the three main ones here, and then the ASIN's the other one. But you just specify those like we did. Sync your bid override table, and then make sure you set your bid setting criteria, and then you're off to the races. So that is that. I will show you the target sniper feature real quick. So the target sniper, you do need the targeting report. So for this tool, you can go up to bid override table, target sniper. Click on this. If you're already logged into Seller Central, it's going to take you to download that, and then you'll import it, which I'm going to do right now. So I like to bring in my 60-day. This one, Apex had a 20-day, so we've updated it right there. Insert new sheet. This is usually a really big file, so I would recommend after you run the target sniper, you actually delete it because you don't really need it after that. What you're going to do is come up here, target sniper, initialize. Yes. Okay, and then launch. And the main thing I like to use this for is for target level overrides that are either your top performers or your testing. So each week, if you're trying to launch new campaigns, you can drop them in here as target level overrides, run the target sniper, and you're going to get a really clear daily rundown of how things are doing. So you'll just click, once it says boom shakalaka, you can click on this button right there. And you can see, I double click on this, over the past 60 days, my PPC metrics. In addition, if you had sponsored rank data, I don't see any here. So there's some other quick filters here we can run. Full view will expand all of them at once. So here's one that had a oops. Well done. Yeah. Just trying to find one that shows some organic rank tracking, but I'm not thinking how many of them here. Here's one. So you can add notes in the labs tab. You can track your organic rank if you're tracking it through Helium 10. And yeah, the idea is basically you're just able to really detailed look at how things are going. So let me show you a couple other buttons here. So if I hit compact view, that'll take me back to where I was. All right. And then if you want to sort, so if you want to see over the past 60 days, the one that's got the most orders, I think we've got a couple filters in here so far. You can do that. It'll throw a sort in this column orders, and then you can do like a Z to A. That'll show you the top performer, even though it's, you know, maybe hasn't performed well recently. You can go back and say, you know, what the heck was going on back here when I was getting all this green, and you can see here's my cost per click. Here's how many orders I was making a day. Why is it dipped off? Could be the placement you were getting, could be a whole bunch of different things. So that's kind of the power of having that info. All right. And then the idea is you set up this bid override table, and then as you throughout the month, as you go to optimize your PPC, maybe 2 to 3 times a week, let's say, you'll come in here, go through the process of importing your new bulk file. If you want to skip all the supplemental report stuff, you can do that. Really get this bulk file set up in about 5 minutes. Your bid override table stays the same. The metrics will obviously change when you get a new bulk file because you've got new data, but you can just come in here and click the sync button. It'll pull in the new metrics. And the metrics here aren't really important. These are more just for reference and helping you specify your segmented bid criteria. But you can theoretically leave everything untouched if all you want to do is optimize your bids to the current bid settings you specified. And the way you do that is you just come up here, sponsored products, Apex formula. You've got some other formulas there as well. I'm going to hit yes, and you'll see it's going to hop over to the sponsored products. The bid optimization column is AF, so you can see our new bid just populated there. And again, it's using our bid input setting criteria along with the target level metrics, which you get in these columns here in order to calculate your new bids, which gets populated here. So that's kind of the start to finish way to get to an optimized bid. That is the gist of it. Do the exact same thing with sponsored brands and sponsored display. If you want to hit the optimize bids, optimize all, you can click that one button and it's going to do all three. Takes just a little bit longer, but you can always, there's no issue with clicking the optimize button multiple times. It's always going to take into account your original bid and then the current metrics along with your bid input settings. So, but once you have that, then all you have left to do to create your optimization files and upload them back to Amazon is export them. And you're just going to export them to your export folder. One thing you do want to note is if you have campaign level negations in your sponsored products or drafts in your sponsored brands or negatives in your sponsored brands, you do need to remove them before you upload them to Amazon. But all you need to do is just go to that sheet, click that button, and then it'll automatically remove them. So it's kind of a two-step process. You'll come up here, click that button, it removes them. Then you click this button to save them. And you'll see here a pretty important note. You want to make this step that I'm talking about right now your very last thing that you do with each kind of optimization session, because once you do it, there's a few different features of AdTactix that you can't go back and gather the data just because it needs some of the columns that it automatically deletes. So that's why you want to do this last. But once you click that button, it's gonna delete the columns I'm talking about, and then it's going to save that optimization file in your export folder, and that's what you upload back to Amazon. And then from there, you're basically just starting back from scratch, where you would come up here, click delete use sheets, and you're back to the beginning. So it's a cyclical process. One other note I'll make before you run this optimization script, what you can do is come up here, hit version history, and name the version whatever the date is. So if I did like 11.8, this is an easy way to kind of save different states of the tools. So once you have that, and say the columns got deleted, I can very easily, if I wanted to go back and see, what I had for my original bid and new bid, you could get back to that state by going back to version history, see version history, and this is the only one I've saved, but you can click on, okay, you can see it tracks some automatically as the sheet saves. I think it allows you up to 30 custom ones that you can save. It does take a minute to kind of load everything. But once you have it, like if I wanted to go back to this state, I could click on that, hit restore this version, and it would take me back there. So that's pretty handy to kind of know that that's there. All right, so it's been about an hour. I will check in with you guys. You guys got any questions? Eddie, Jalou, Jeffrey?
Not on my end. This is amazing. Thank you so much.
Gotcha.
When you do the, I know we really didn't cover this today, but like the bulk negate tool,
Mm-hmm.
can you add a phrase to like all your auto campaigns?
Yeah, if you wanted, okay, so what he's talking about here, I didn't cover this, but I'll cover something real quick here on that. So in addition to kind of optimizing your PPC, there's also some filters here. So you've got what's called the Stoptimizer tool, which is for your search term reports. And then you've got a poor performers filter, which is for your targeting in your sponsored product brands display. So you basically set this criteria of things that Amazon doesn't like. So a lot of impressions with low click-through rate, high spend, no orders, high clicks, no orders. Set that, and then you can buzz down through your bulk files and say, okay, at the targeting level, I want to check my poor performers. it's going to show me any active targets that meet that criteria, and I can make the decision if I want to pause them or not. All right, so I've only got a few here that you can see have no orders. They have high spin. Some of them get triggered for the impression limit. So these would be ones you potentially want to pause in this column right here. When we upload our file, we wouldn't be bidding on them anymore. In a similar vein, though, you can do a similar thing to your search term reports. So if I come back here, I may want to bulk negate some poor performing search terms in my research campaigns. Maybe not exact match, because doing the pausing like we just showed at the targeting level would accomplish the same thing. But let's go ahead and run the stoptimizer to that same criteria by clicking that button there. It's going to throw a filter.
Stoptimizer and poor performers run off the same criteria.
That's right. That's
off
right.
the front of the sheet.
Yep. So here you can see we've already negated some of these. And so I'm just going to click on, I want to see just the blanks. So I'm going to do that. Now I'm going to move these. I don't have any autos, Jeff, but I have some broad and phrase. And you don't have to use the search term tool to use the bulk negate tool. You can, if you know the auto campaigns and all that information, you can just build out your bulk negate sheet and add whatever you want to that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, to push terms from here over to the bulk negate tool, you're just going to click on that, add selected to bulk negate, and come over here. All right. Oh, I had some defaults selected from when I pushed them over to the AdTactix dashboard. You want to make sure you clear that, clear the checkbox column, but I guess it's good because I have some, oh, these are ASIN targets. So what you do at this step is pick your negate type. If you had an auto campaign, you would pick this one here. And that would, you know, if it's an ASIN in an auto campaign, that would negate the ASIN. If it's keyword in an auto campaign, obviously you pick one of these, usually negative exact. So hopefully that makes sense. But you'll just do something like this. Let's say we pick this. That's a faster way to do this. All right. And then we want to build out our negate file. So we're just going to click this now. But this is the page here where you would build everything for your autos in bulk to answer your question.
So I guess you could just go to your bulk file.
Sort and filter your autos.
Filter by all your auto campaigns and grab the campaign name, right?
Yep. You need the name and the ad group.
Which are right next, or let's see IDs right now.
Yeah, you can get it easy enough. If you filter your bulk file for the ad group level, you'll have all the information there in one line. So anyway,
Yeah,
is your, go ahead, sorry.
Nope, no, I was just kind of walking through the steps, that's all.
Yeah, the key thing on the negate file in the new bulk sheets is you need these IDs, which are a bit tricky. So that's what this whole tool is kind of geared to do. And then when you add keywords to existing campaigns, that's what we're working on right now with this section, to pull in these IDs along with the other original information. But similar to how we uploaded our bulk file here and we saved our campaign file here, you need to just export this using this button here, sends it to the same spot. It'll be named different, like bulk negate file. Looks like my internet's crapping out. That's all right. And then you upload that to Amazon and you're pretty well good to go. This will basically negate any of these terms with that match type that you chose at the ad group level. So the bulk campaign builder, you can actually do campaign level negations as well. So that's what these are for here. Cool.
Do you have a preferred order for uploading? Like negations first and then optimizations?
I always just create all three of them kind of in line as you see here, and then I'll just upload them all at once, one after the other. Usually I'll upload the faster ones first, the campaign and the negations, just because the bulk file usually sometimes it'll take 15 minutes or so. But anyway, one good SOP to really read over is this one here. It pretty well outlines everything I just went over, as long as my internet still works here. So it'll take you from kind of start to finish through optimizing and setting up your bid override table. I need to add a video because I think we can zoom in on this. That doesn't really work. Need to figure out how to make it so you can hover over it or something. But anyway. All right, guys, I don't really have anything else. That's really what I wanted to cover as far as from start to finish in a nutshell, the main features, which I think I didn't cover everything, but I hit the highlights. So